If you're watching the news, depending on who you're watching, which 99.9% of the news is left.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's a huge agenda, and they control the narrative.
So
Don't you know the best way to squash that is don't watch it, don't listen.
yeah. Have you ever thought about running for office yourself?
Absolutely not. You know,
We live in a world where everyone has an opinion on politics, and many of them aren't very insightful. So that's former football player Brett Favre, who's appeared on Don Jr.'s podcast to talk about what else? Cancel culture, fake news, and the radical left. I'm just genuinely curious if anyone who listens to this podcast in earnest, sees these absolutely milquetoast, vague assertions and is like, wow, that's an incredible insight. I'm gonna turn off my television right now. No one who pays to hear Don Jr. ramble and yell is watching the mainstream media, but people like him have no actual interest in policy discussions or conversations that go beyond just lashing out at the left and spreading misinformation through fear. What I'm also curious about is whether Favre is including Fox News in this attack on the mainstream media. After all, it is the highest watched cable news network, definitely not just 1% of the market as he makes it seem. I've covered the recent split between Fox News and the MAGA right, particularly as it pertains to this soft endorsement of Ron DeSantis. So is that what Favre is returning to? That if you're not on the far, far, far right, then you're a radical Democrat? It would very much seem like that. So let's take a look at what this left-wing Fox News channel is covering these days.
And sometimes we make dangerously bad decisions like pandemic lockdowns and keeping our own children home from schools when a virus was hurting them far less often than adults. You know, we didn't actually close schools in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic. We didn't even have penicillin back then. We did sacrifice, we suffered, but then we pressed on. Our enemies hate us for surviving, but they would love to be like us.
Just a patently untrue monologue from Fox's Harris Faulkner. School closures during the 1918 flu pandemic were particularly effective and ranged in duration from 0 to 15 weeks, with a median duration of 6 weeks across the country. But not only that, I love how she says, quote, "We didn't even have penicillin," to basically argue that in 100 years of science and health innovation should be abandoned because, well, we didn't need it last time and some people survived. Whether it's Don Jr.'s podcast or Fox News, facts, data, and context are very hard to find, and to me, the line between the flashy, expensive Fox studios and all of these MAGA podcasts is actually very blurry. So sorry, Brett Favre, you're not actually doing the American people a public service by cutting through the fake news. You're just contributing to it. For more of my coverage on The Breakdown, check out my latest video on how MAGA youth are revealing the true impact of GOP strategy by clicking on the link in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on all platforms at Caro Johnson 917.